Welcome to the Legacy Angel Network Venture Lounge, where nothing ventured is nothing changed. For Matt Helmenthaler, press 1. For member services, press 2. For real raw startup stories, press 3. For all other questions or concerns, please wait on the line in our
Good evening, everyone. I'm Matt Helmenthaler, and you're listening to Venture Lounge, after-hour conversations with founders and investors. These are the stories, insights, and conversations that you aren't going to find on the company website. Because the real lessons you learn in the startup world, the risk you take as an entrepreneur, the highs and the lows, the moments in your journey when no one else believes in you right before you break through, those are the moments that you just have to hear for yourself. So grab a drink and listen in to the men and women who are changing the world. Welcome to the Venture Lounge.
Yeah, there it is.
Guys, thank you everybody for coming, by the way. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, my name's Matt. This is Connor, Chance Glasco. The way our format works for our live podcast, our podcast is called Venture Lounge. Nothing ventured, nothing changed. And what we focus on is finding founders and investors who have kind of, I don't want to say made it, but they're people that have these really cool raw startup stories and stuff you're not going to see on the company website. And the idea of our podcast is for future founders, future investors, current founders, current investors to kind of get on, get to know our founders, get to know our investors, and hear their stories and be encouraged and all that fun stuff. So in the midst of all that, we have a good time. We have a lot of fun, and that's how it goes. We have a company called Legacy Angel Network, which is what this was birthed from. We have a big group of local investors, and we try and gather the right people around the right things and have fun doing it. So that's our little spiel. But the way the evening is going to go, we're going to do about a half an hour or so of kind of going back and forth and shooting the breeze and hearing the stories, and then we're going to do a little 10-minute break so that everybody can go use the bathrooms and go refill their drinks and go do their thing. And then when we come back, we'll have a few more minutes, and then we're going to open up for questions. How about that? Yeah, there it is. So,
Rich, thanks so much for having us, man. We'll give a round of applause for Rich. Appreciate you, dude.
Yeah, definitely giving it up for Rising Tide. This is our first
out of office podcast. I guess we're calling it
out of office podcast. Yeah. And what a cool place to do it.
Yeah, thanks.
At Rising Tide in the Port. Rising Tide in the Port. All right, just want to make sure I'm plugging you as much as I can.
Is it Rising Tide?
Right.
At the port?
At the port.
Rising Tide at the port.
Yeah, cool.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Chance, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
we got Chance Glasco in the building.
You guys asked me back.
Yep.
Yeah.
I kind of expected it, but.
Well, you're at least for me, I mean, the age difference between me and Matt, but call it a little bit. Call of Duty franchise was like my entire childhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so we kind of owe you that. And I'm sure like a couple other men in the building,
Yeah, it's. I never know that's
why
a good
are you
thing.
leaving women out of that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
did you play Call of Duty?
Ma'am, did
Okay, yeah, good stuff.
There it is. Yeah. Yes. Come on, Connor.
I know.
This is 2023.
Awkward foot we're starting off on here. Chance, give us your bio, man. Tell us why you're here, what you're into, what you've done.
Yeah, so I am here mostly because I make video games. I guess that would be the main reason. I was went to Full Sail University over in Orlando. I grew up in Brevard County. Kind of have a crazy story of how I got here, but ended up in Brevard anyways, and went to Atlantis Elementary in Port St. John.
Oh, yeah, I have to interrupt you. You have to tell them the crazy story.
All right, so I was kidnapped to Florida when I was 6.
I'm laughing. It's not funny, but it's kind of funny.
Statistically, 7% of people in Florida came here that way. 9% was methadone.
Okay, methadone.
It is a little fun fact in the Chance Glasgow story.
Yeah, it was a crazy domestic situation, but it was it made me more of a resilient human. I'll just say that. So, anyways, ended up in Alabama, Decatur, which is also space related, next to Huntsville, right?
Really?
For 6 months, and then we migrated over here when my stepdad got a job over at USBI, which was a NASA contractor.
I used to live in Alabama, and the last thing I ever thought of was space.
Yeah.
It's between people's teeth, but there's not. I mean, I lived in Alabama for a long time, and it was.
It's not exactly. I love Brevard because it's like it's rednecks and rocket scientists,
Yeah.
but they're the same people, you know. Yeah. So
Exactly.
I like any place that can break stereotypes.
Yeah.
So, ended up in Titusville and went to, Riverview Elementary, I think it was homeschooled for a couple years. I lived in Section 8 housing. My mom was a property manager of Section 8 housing, which is, welfare housing for people that have only been middle class or rich. Wake up in the middle of the night, like police banging on her door. Hey, we need to talk to you. There was a shooting, and wake up because my mom has to talk to the police about something that happened in the complex. And then eventually ended up in Port St. John, which is like a minor upgrade from like the hood of Titusville. It's like moving from South Central, or it's like moving from Watts to Compton. It's moving on up, but you're getting there, right? But this is an improvement from my life in Tulsa. When I was 2, I was in a double wide, and we had a room that was full of drugs, apparently. I didn't know that. And have some crazy stuff going on with my family in Jamaica. But anyways, let's get to what you guys are here for.
Yeah. This rabbit hole
By the
goes
way,
deeper
invest in
than
my
I thought.
company. I come from a very stable household. So where were we?
Wait, so
You opened a can of worms, man. Like, I kept going back.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Like he has all this serious. He does research. I don't do any research.
Yeah.
I want to hear that stuff.
All right, well.
That's what entertains me.
Yeah, it's
Sorry,
like you're,
it's probably more.
It's basically like you're a counselor again, You're,
I don't know if I'm a counselor. I'm just laughing at you while you're saying it. I don't know if that's very helpful.
hilarious. No. So anyways, where we? So Titusville, Port St. John, and ended up parents divorced when I was like 11 or 12, and I ended up in Indian Harbor Beach and went to first Delora, but then had a bad experience. Ended up going to Hoover, had a good experience, which is weird. It's like the same people for the most part, right?
Pretty much.
Graduated from Satellite Beach High School. Any Satellite Beach right here? Yeah, she's either pointing to herself or she's doing the Stingham Scorps. Yeah. That's also how scorpions point to themselves. They're like, me over here. So
let's recap.
Yeah.
Co-founder of the Call of Duty franchise, 10-year jiu-jitsu practitioner as well, right?
You wouldn't know that.
This is a perfect time to ask, like, who would win in a fight? Chance Glasgow. You got to be honest. Chance Glasgow, Elon Musk. He's over at like Fish Lips every other night, according to Rich. Like,
I would definitely be on. I would be Elon for sure. I think Mark could be a little tough. Mark looks like he knows what he's doing. Zuckerberg. I would probably still beat him, but
Elon's got the stature though, didn't he? How tall is he? A little bit bigger.
6'1".
6'1", right?
Yeah.
I feel like he's got the psychological edge. I feel like if you got him pinned, he'll like whisper something really creepy in your ear.
Yeah, and I just like give up. I tap from the winning position. Yeah. And so, anyways, going back to the career thing. You guys asked me, I think, tell me about yourself. So Satellite Beach High School, went to Full Sail University, and studied computer animation. Had a great experience there. Got a 2-year degree in 15 months. Moved out. I went and I had a 1988 Honda Accord. Honda Accords in the 80s were like the size of smaller than a Civic today, actually, right?
Oh yeah.
Drove all the way out there and looked for work in Los Angeles, all the way to Los Angeles, and did not find really anything good. I think I got some offers to do extra work for like TV shows, but I went there to be an animator, not get paid $50 a day to stand around in a set. And so I was there. I slept in the back of my car, parked at a Gold's Gym with towels in the windows to block out the street lights, and then I'd go and shower in the gym every morning. You got to be clean to get a job and everything. And was there for 6 weeks, didn't find anything. Sadly, was going back to Orlando, stopped in Tulsa, Oklahoma, And I found out there's a video game company there called 2015, and they're working on a game called Medal of Honor Allied Assault, which was the first PC version of a very popular World War II gaming franchise that was a spin-off from Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan. So I didn't have much to show, but I was very persistent, and I said, I'll pretty much do anything just to get my foot in the door. And I got an internship. 3 weeks later, turned to a job. We showed the game at E3. It did really well. We finished the game. It was the highest rated Medal of Honor of all time, but the problem was the CEO we worked for was just kind of not great. You know, he was very controlling, very just not a solid human being. And so as a result, 22 of the 30 people we left. And initially we were actually working with EA to do an expansion for Medal of Honor, like DLC, but then had some issues with EA and then had to quickly look for another publisher connected with Activision. And Activision was like, we really like Medal of Honor. Can you make Activision a franchise to compete with Medal of Honor? We're like, sure, but will you give us actual creative freedom? We don't want business people coming in here and saying, you got to make this animation like this, you know? Unless you're like a World War II expert in a VC or something, we don't need that. And so we created a new shooter from the ground up. We had to start over with the Quake 3 engine. I think a lot of people know Quake and Doom. And so we started with the same engine, but all the stuff we added onto it for Medal of Honor we couldn't use because EA owned it. So we started from the ground up, which was, luckily we could build up faster because we've already done it, and we were able to fix things that we call legacy code, which is a bad thing, but legacy angel investments is a good thing. Legacy code is something that basically is foundational in your code that if you pull it out, everything just kind of falls apart. And so legacy code can be, I bet you if you looked at the, Modern Warfare 2, the latest one, if you looked at the code, you'd probably still find some of Carmack's, like John Carmack's code in there.
Oh, wow.
And John Carmack known for games, but also known for space. Here we are in Cape Canaveral, so it's very fitting. So anyways, did that, created a game where like, what are we going to call it? Tour of Duty, some this and that, something of Valor, and we're like, Call of Duty, bam, did it, released the first game on PC only. No one had heard of us, they didn't know what Call of Duty was. And so it was a lot of like, what do you do? I make video games, a game called Call of Duty. They're like, what, like, what, Dookie, something? I don't know. And so anyways, the first game was a big success considering no one knew what it was. Most games when they launch, the sales, they peak in the first week and they drop dramatically. But for us, it was like a steady climb up because it was word of mouth. People got into multiplayer, right?
Yeah.
And so, we released that for PC, and then Microsoft approached us and they said, we want a Call of Duty for our new Xbox called the Xbox 360. Can you make a launch title? And it's great to have a launch title because a launch title is like, you might be one of 7 games available when the console comes out. So they only have 7 choices of games to buy. And if you can be a good one, you're probably getting bought. And so we actually had a 70% attachment rate to that console for like the first 2 years. So 70% of the people that own that console bought our game, which is insane.
Yeah, man.
The only games that have done better would be like, Super Mario Brothers for NES because it came with the console, right? It was included. That's 100% attachment rate. And then after Call of Duty 2, we had worked on World War II games for longer than America was in World War II. And so we're like, that's a long time if you know American foreign policy. We had all these ideas for modern day, like flashbangs and assault rifles and helicopters and all these things that didn't exist in World War II. And so we approached Activision and said, hey, we got this great idea for a modern day Call of Duty. And they pulled out the World War II charts and they're like, look at the sales, up. Why would you guys stop making World War II? Like everyone's making World War II games now because they're copying us. Because we're sick of it. Like we're not inspired to do this. And it's a bunch of creatives, right?
Right.
It's just like if you asked Metallica to reproduce the same album they did every year, right? Or just any popular band that puts out a platinum album and then their label says, do exactly this sound again. And they're like, no.
Yep.
It's just, they can't do it. And so went to Activision, they said no, and the two heads of our studio came back and told us, and someone was like, what if we just lock them out of our studio for, 2 months and make a prototype and then show it to them? Because we know we're going to do a good job. That's exactly what we did. We literally didn't let Activision in our studio for 2 months while we did something we knew was going to be good. They showed up, they saw it, and they were like, I hate you, but this is amazing. You know, like, it was very mixed feelings, because obviously they're like, you guys did exactly what we asked you not to.
What did the prototype look like, Chance? Like, what was
it was
the
I forgot the official name of the level, but it was the nighttime Russian level where you're with Captain Price. He throws out the cigar and then fast ropes, and you take out all the Russians, which apparently is still trendy today. Sorry, I just totally blocked all of our Russian investment. Luckily, I guess. Right?
Well, there's been like a weird stoppage in the Russian investment.
Yeah. I mean, last time I was here, I told you I got banned from Russia.
Right.
Yeah.
You gotta tell that story.
You need to tell the Russian ban story.
So Modern Warfare 2, no Russian. I don't know who here has played Modern Warfare 2. All right, that's a lot. That's like half the room. That's great.
No women, by the way, Matt. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, you didn't pay for it. Thank you. Well, I'm glad you could get the cultural experience. You better invest. At least $60. So anyways, so we had this level called No Russian. And this level was initially not a level. It was a story point. It was a point in the story where these Russian ultranationalists, think Putin more or less, decided to take back Russia to its former communist glory, right? And so the story was that these Russians pretended to be Americans and went into the Moscow airport to create a false flag. And these fake Americans, which are actually Russian, went in and just basically shot up all of Russian TSA to create a big scene and pull America into the war. And so you're an American that found out about this plot, and you're pretending to be a Russian who's pretending to be American. And so the level starts out in this elevator, and there's 3 Russians in front of you, and they're like, remember, no Russian, you know? As they're like, remember, don't speak any Russian. They don't want you to know that they're Russians, right? And so you go in, and you have a choice as a player. Like, they're expecting you to shoot up this whole airport, but it's the only level in the game where you don't have to kill a single person, despite it being probably the most controversial level in all of first-person shooter gaming history, period, probably. Because you have the ability to basically just mow down like their security point, right? And if you shoot around all these people and you look like you're attacking people, the Russians will believe it and not like call you out and kill you. But the twist is, at the end, if you get through it, the Russians kill you anyways because they knew the whole time that you were an undercover American, right? So really kind of crazy plot twist here. And so this level got leaked, and the BBC got a hold of it, Russia saw it, and I was promoting the game in London at the time when the Parliament was talking about, we're going to ban this game, right? And they can't really ban it. I mean, the UK has similar rights as we have. You know, we have better rights, but they have some good ones too. And so the Russians found out about it, and there was no context. There wasn't. I mean, even with the context, Russia's not going to like it. The Parliament would be more okay with it. But yeah, and I had a visa to go to Russia and promote the game, and they redacted it. And then, 15, 20 years later, I'm part of the Atlantic Council, which is in D.C. They're an international think tank, and they created NATO. So you can see where this is going. Double banned. Yeah. So I don't think I'm ever going to Russia. And I'm sure I would love hanging out with some Russian people. There's some sure good people over there, but yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were banned.
So that's when you went to Brazil for the new game.
Yeah, Brazil's
like different countries.
They're like the South American Russians. When it comes to grappling, they pretty much are, Like you think of who in Asia can kick your ass the most? Russians. Who in South America can kick your ass the most?
But you gotta just comment, Chance, because the trend that I see is even like the multiple World War II games that you had that were doing really well. Sales are climbing. You still have the desire to create something new and kind of veer off course to Modern Warfare. You're veering off course with your new game, something that hasn't been combined before. Where's that like creative variant mentality come from to step out and do something new when the money's on the table for the other stuff,
Yeah, I think a lot of game companies are like, okay, I'm a game developer, I'm getting the salary, I'm doing my job, done, right? That's a lot of game studios.
Yeah.
But game studios that exist because a bunch of people got together that were passionate about an idea, those are the game studios that do well, right? It's such a creative, passion-driven industry, right? So there's only a limited amount of time that I can work on modern-day first-person shooters as well.
Right.
And as someone I'm playing shooters, but also playing tactical games, I'm playing or strategy games, simulation, management, RPGs. We're all playing, game developers, we're all playing different games of different genres, and we're digesting the game design choices as we're playing them.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I wasn't working on a tycoon or simulation game, for 13, 14 years, since I was 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever playing SimCity, I've been thinking about these games for a while. And obviously, as a developer that's making these now, I think about them a lot more. But really, it's just you have to follow your passion, but it also has to intersect with what you're good at. You can't just passion only.
Right.
You find what you're good at, what you're passionate about, you stick it together, and that's what you should probably be doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No. No. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was going to ask too. So transitioning from, the Call of Duty franchise and going through all that, you exited the franchise, and then, correct me if I'm wrong, you exited the franchise and then went to Brazil,
Yeah. So
almost immediately, right?
yeah, pretty much. I got invited to be a guest speaker in Rio de Janeiro for something called CG Extreme. It was a partnership through Full Sail University, a school they were working with. I went out there and did a talk on Call of Duty and doing first-person animations and all that stuff. And then I kept getting sent back there by Activision to do media at Brazil Game Show, which I'm about to go to, right? Because I was the only one on the team that could speak some Portuguese, and I'm also someone who's just send me to any environment, I can survive it. Which is kind of goes back to the beginning of our podcast here. He's been through enough shit. You can send him to you can send him to Paraguay or something.
Yep.
Yeah. So they would send me to these. The heads of the studio would go to France, Paris, and Germany, and they're like, "Yo, you go to Madagascar, hang out with some lemurs." And so, I just became the developer media guy that they would send out to get a developer viewpoint in just a lot of random countries around the world, and Brazil was one of those key countries. I also met my wife the first time I was out there, and so obviously that was an incentive to keep going back. And we're still married, which is great.
Nice, congratulations.
Yeah. So I'm going back there on the 6th to Rio for a few days, and then I'll go to Sao Paulo for the Brazil Game Show.
So how long did you live in Brazil once you finally made the transition? So how long were you out there for?
Yeah, so I moved to a place called Gloria, and Gloria is near downtown. It's next to a place called Santa Teresa, Centro, which means downtown in Portuguese. It was about 20 minutes from the beaches that everyone visits when the tourist areas, right? But it was still what you call Zona Sul, which is the south zone, which in general is safer than most of the other zones. But I moved to the place where there were no other foreigners, maybe 1 or 2 people on that street spoke English. But in general, it was I'm here because I'm not going to be able to speak English. I'm going to have to learn Portuguese. And so I'd go downstairs beneath the apartment we were in, Airbnb, to Boteco. And a Boteco is basically, what are those New York corner stores?
The what stores?
The corner stores in New York.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's just a different language
Okay.
for the same word, basically. Yeah. And these are basic food, some alcohol, beer, cachaça. I'd go down there after work, get some beer, and just talk to some of the locals. And they were at first they're who the hell is this guy? But then, before you know it, weeks into it, I've got the owner of the Boteco vouching for me because the local street drug dealer was eyeing me a lot, right? And so I'm on the 7th floor, and every night I'm seeing this guy. He's taking little, bags of Coke, and he's putting them on top of the wheels of the cars because when the police come, he doesn't want to have it on him. And so when he gets a sale, he would run to the wheel of a car, take off the little bag, and deliver it. And I can just see all this, right? And so I would walk back and forth, and this guy their new drug dealer after that was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
This guy though, he was I think he was on drugs. That was a problem. But was put in jail. But the whole street vouched for me.
Yeah.
I had my dog, Anderson Pooper, in Portuguese, Senor Cagão, which is also Spanish. He probably speaks Spanish. He's laughing. And the dog kind of became like a celebrity because he's so goofy and weird. The community just like accepted me, and I learned a lot about, if you watch any movie or game with favelas, I'm partly guilty because Modern Warfare 2 had favelas. All you see is drug dealers, police, military police, violence, cops. It's just like, you're led to believe that, wow, it's just a village of drug dealers. Like nothing else. No moms, no dogs, just drug dealers. And that's not true. It's just like any impoverished area in the United States. You do have a higher percentage of people up to crime, but the majority of people, the vast majority of people, are still trying to like be decent people and just survive, right? Yeah. And so one of the things I really picked up on there is that we're not really showed the full spectrum of what happens in these poor communities. And so with Martial Arts Tycoon Brazil, that's the game we're making. I haven't mentioned it yet. Wow.
No. I was definitely getting it. I was trying to guide you on a path.
You're bridging the gap.
One of the things I'm trying to, that we're doing is we're making sure that we kind of show the full spectrum. These things exist. And within our game, you're dealing with these characters that have like life backstories. They have character traits. Maybe they're, incredibly strong because they do CrossFit, or maybe they're an alcoholic, or maybe they're who knows what.
Alcoholic.
Right? Yeah.
Thanks, man.
And so you're helping these characters kind of evolve personally, just like martial arts does, right? So 97% of people that train martial arts are not wanting to be a fighter. They're not trying to be an MMA fighter or martial arts, a pro fighter. Only 3%. 97% are just trying to improve themselves. And so that's what the game is mostly about. You got these characters that come in. Yes, there is combat. You see how the combat goes. But you're taking these characters that are just like, I've got diabetes, I need to lose weight. Or, I need to change my... It could be anything, just anything that someone joined martial arts for. And so you're trying to help these characters just kind of progress like through their life. So,
yeah. Where did your idea come from to like combine the genres of like sim style, like resource management game, and your interest in jiu-jitsu and your experience in Brazil?
Yeah, so I got into jiu-jitsu when I was working on Modern Warfare 1, I think. Some coworkers, a couple coworkers trained, and we had Hamala Bahal and Alberto Crane opened a gym just blocks down from my office, and I went there. Alberto showed me how to escape mount position, which is where someone's like sitting directly on your chest. I was like, wow, this is so like simple and easy, and it works against heavier people too, I was also watching Dream and Pride, which was like early Japanese MMA.
Yeah.
And back then they had almost no rules. It was like only kind of like early UFC, except the Japanese version. Yeah. And I was very impressed how these little like, people that looked like they're small, scrawny, and weak were just destroying bigger, stronger people, technically. And that's a lot of what jiu-jitsu is.
Yeah.
And so I've always been not athletic. I grew up playing baseball. I wasn't very good at it. I was probably at 50 percentile, but I loved it. I sucked at basketball, even though I'm 6'3". And jiu-jitsu, it's like you've already tripped over yourself and you're on the ground. It's like, well, while I'm down here, I might as well choke somebody. And so I tried it, and I was like, okay, I don't have to be like a beast, like a physical beast, like my man here, to do well.
It's a real confidence booster.
I don't mean like an ox. You're like a good, I don't know. Take it as a good thing. So we, there we go.
No, he is. He is.
But what's cool is like the jiu-jitsu origin story, like the original Gracie. I can't remember what the dude's first.
Helio.
Yeah. Was it him that had? He had vertigo, so like if he sprinted, he would just like faint.
Yeah, he was like 140
the dude,
pounds,
and the dude was like tiny. You know what I mean? But it's the art. It's the gentle art. That's why I call it gentle art.
He was like the fast food kid from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Would you like fries with that? Like I wasn't quite there, but I was almost there.
Right.
I had less acne, but other than that, that's about it.
No, but like first day going in there, at least for me at Hotbox, it was like 130-pound guy, brown belt that just destroyed me. You know what I mean? Like, and it still happens all the time. You know what I mean?
It's a very leveling
martial
art.
for sure.
I was blown. I mean, I'm not in martial arts. I was blown away though when the UFC first came out and there was like no weight class
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Like you would see like this 160-pound guy versus like a sumo wrestler.
Yeah,
it was nuts.
And all of it happened in Oklahoma.
Oh my gosh.
It's the one place it could legally happen, probably. I don't know. I was born in Oklahoma, so I can say that.
But that's really where Hoist Gracie kind of came on the scene, right?
Yeah.
Came on the
He
scene
wasn't
there.
even the best Gracie. He
No.
was built like me. He was 6'1", thin. You know, I think he was 180 pounds when he fought in the early UFC. He's just choking out guys left and right that are like 230, 240. You know, with his clothes sometimes.
Yeah. The early UFCs were like just a showcase for what jiu-jitsu was.
Yeah.
But how did again? How did it transition to the game, combining those elements and making something new like you guys are? You know.
Well, you spend a lot of time on the mats. You just see all these dynamics, things that happen before the fights. You know, like for instance, let's say you're at the gym and some new guy signs up and they're just a bully. They're big and they're strong, they're athletic, and they're just hurting people left and right. You as a gym owner have to decide, how do I deal with this person, right? And so you have to decide, well, if I kick this person out, I've got someone who could potentially win me a lot of money because they're very skilled. But, you know, Thiago over here is injured for 4 weeks because he rolled with this guy and got hurt. You know, so you have to balance those choices. And so as you're playing the game, you're managing the finances, you're hiring employees. And the cool thing about, you know, martial arts is often the employees are people that you taught, right? Mm-hmm. So you're teaching someone and they're like, you know, this person just doesn't have much of a future as a professional fighter, but, you know, they have a high willpower, they have high endurance. They'd be great at working here, you know, or they have a high, you know, they're charismatic, something that makes them a good employee, and you hire them, right? You're putting together custom classes. So, you know, you have some default classes, but if you want, you can say, okay, well, I want, you know, 20 minutes of warm-ups, 10 minutes of stretches, and then I want to put in, you know, 10 minutes of armbar drilling, then triangle drilling, and then some rolling, and you're sliding over all these blocks and kind of composing your own class. And all these blocks have different effects. Some have a higher risk to injury. If you're sparring, it's a high risk of injury. Some, like stretching, will reduce injury. Your equipment has an effect on that as well. If you're training on cardboard, you're gonna get hurt a lot more than if you buy the fancy, you know, gym mats.
Right.
So the game is very much a business-oriented game with character development. And eventually, you know, your first encounters might be, oh, this kid's facing his bully in school, and that's your first quote-unquote fight. Then eventually, you know, you can put them in tournaments and have results and see how that unfolds. So if you've ever played The Sims or Roller Coaster Tycoon, it's like those two games kind of had a jiu-jitsu baby. It's kind of a way to describe it. You know, you got your character development, but you also have your business management. If you know, Roller Coaster Tycoon, a lot of people have played that. That's like the poster boy of tycoon games, right? So definitely huge influences from those games, a little bit from games, more indie games like RimWorld. We have a lot of procedural aspects, so for you engineers out there, if you like randomly generated content, we've got a lot of that as well.
So what's it been like? I mean, you come from the Call of Duty franchise. You come from, I mean, your background's really freaking cool.
Yeah.
All right. But this is like your baby. Like I mean, you had the idea, you started this thing. Like, what's that been like for you as like an entrepreneur to come from where you came from and then say, you know what, I'm gonna go do something on my own? Like what's that journey been like for you?
I think it's, you know, the idea sometimes in your back pocket for a long time, and I'd been, you know, actually noting down ideas for this game, you know, probably 7, 8 years, 9 years before we started making it, right? And so it's I guess as the deeper I get into it, the more I realize this was a good decision, you know, because at first it's a little daunting to be like, you know, I was a developer for many years, and yeah, I did some media and some PR and other things outside of development, but in general, it's like that's your world. And now, so, you know, jumping into the you know, what I'm doing is a mix of business and a mix of creative, because I'm creative director, but I'm also doing a lot of CEO things as well, right? And so it's been a learning experience, but it's also fun because I have a lot of variety in what I'm doing. I'm not just like animating guns, you know, 10 hours a day for years, which is cool, but not necessarily for your whole life to do the same thing. So I like the variety. I like the fact that I get to meet people and talk to them and use, you know, some personable skills and all that. Yeah.
Talk about your team a little bit too.
Yeah.
That you gathered around the project.
And Chance, why is the lead singer of Trivium retweeting all the martial arts?
Yeah.
Dude?
So,
That's a proper question.
yeah, it's a very good reason. I don't know if there's any metalheads watching, but so at my gym, one of my training partners, he's always, we train at lunch together often, is Matt Hafey. And Matt Hafey is the lead singer and guitarist of the metal band Trivium. And Trivium is literally one of the top metal bands on the entire planet. They go to Europe, and it's normal for them to play for 30,000 people, right? It's just, they're huge. And Matt's an extremely humble guy that says his favorite game of all time was, I think, Modern Warfare 2. And I, like Trivium, and so we ended up training together. I was like, I like Trivium, you like Call of Duty, let's do something, And so he's doing all of our music and our sound for the game. And the music's great. It's obviously not there's a little metal in there, but mostly it's all Brazilian music. And so, if you know anything about metal, it's very complex music. If you're a good metal musician, you could probably play any kind of classic, jazz, it's on its own level. And so, he wanted to basically compose for this entire game, do his first full composition for an entire game. And we brought him on, and I can go to our 12 o'clock classes, and we can fight each other, and then after talk about game ideas, And he just got his black belt too.
Oh, wow.
Right? And it's hard to get your black belt. I mean, most people take more than 8 years to get it. I'm on that 20-year path.
I like it.
Yeah, it's.
You're like Dwight Schrute.
I'm like aged. My jiu-jitsu is like aged scotch.
Yes,
like
exactly. Fine. Yeah,
I don't know. And so, outside of Matt, we've got a lot of other great game developers on our team. We've got James Horgan, who came from High Res Studios, Paladins, and Rogue Company. Let me see. We've got Madison Mosley, who worked at Wizards of the Coast, who's known for Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering. He was on Magic the Gathering. We've got a new animator, a blue belt from Austin, Willem, who he worked on Uncharted, Star Wars Battlefront 2, and something really obviously that I'm forgetting. And he's luckily found a jiu-jitsu animator, and that's important because we need someone that can at least understand the details of what's going on when they're making animations, right?
My favorite post on your Instagrams, by the way, is the one where you're getting judo thrown by somebody, and the caption's creative director Chance Glasco donates his body for animation purposes.
So we just did a mocap shoot with Marco, and Marco is one of our, he teaches a lot of the classes at Gracie Baja, North Orlando. And he's from Sao Paulo. He just, moved back here probably less than a year ago. And he's one of our advisors and also doing the motion capture with me. So he's the lead motion capture person, and I'm like the dummy that he throws around, right? So we just did that. And other team members, we're working on, about to finalize bringing on Arthur Protasio, who is an Emmy-nominated game narrative writer and game designer from Rio de Janeiro.
Wow.
And I met him when he was, 20 or something like that, 19, when I lived in Rio. And then we reconnected years later, and I'm like, oh, you've got an Emmy nomination now, And so the perfect person to write for the job. We've got Sartak up in Vancouver, and this guy is, not that long out of school, and he's just absolutely killing it. You wouldn't know that this was his first job after school. Diego Maya, he lives in Laranjeiras in Rio, and I've been working with him since I met him my first time in Rio. I met him, he showed me his portfolio, and we stayed in contact. And I've worked with him on multiple projects. We brought on a new Full Sail grad, Doug, who's doing some game design. We're working with a lot of great graphic designers and UI artists over at Unleash Media in Orlando, who's doing our UI. So we've got a lot of great talent. I'm putting together basically a AAA talented team, but in an indie scale. Because there's a lot of developers that are burned out. They're like, man, I've been doing 3D models of chickens for 7 years, because they work at a studio with 1,000 people, and this guy's like the chicken artist. And he gets really excited, and he's like, ooh, I got a new breed of chicken. But eventually those new breeds of chickens aren't too exciting. You got to make a new game.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't know if it's a good metaphor or not, but I hope you all understand.
Let's give it up for a Chance really quick for coming out here tonight. Very, very, very awesome. All right, man. So I want to tell everybody this story really quick of how you and I met. So this is like, I mean, it's not life changing or anything, but it was. I mean, I don't know. You know what though? Chance, it is life changing.
It actually is. Yeah, cheers to that.
Yeah,
Cheers, boys.
yeah.
Yeah.
Much love, man.
Thanks, Charlie.
So I'm at an Orlando tech community event with a invited from a mutual friend, Charlie Lewis, who's the CEO of Waterfall Ventures and a couple of other cool things. And so I'm there, and then I'm waiting at the bar for a drink. This guy's just standing next to me, and we're just kind of shooting the breeze. And
we were both like overweighting our drink. It was like 10 minutes.
We were kind of waiting patiently.
Yeah.
Like that awkward thing where you're standing at the bar and you're like, it was one of those things. I mean,
Like,
it was,
sup?
yeah. So we were standing there and we're waiting, and we just started kind of going back and forth and talking, getting to know each other, not knowing that Charlie actually wanted me to come to that event to meet Chance, and Chance to come to that event to meet me, and then Charlie brings him back over, and then we kind of find out what each other does. I run an Angel Network. He's got a new game. Fa la 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 la.
But it goes deeper.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it does go deeper. It
Yeah.
does go deeper. But that's how we kind of met, and then you came and did our first podcast.
Yeah.
And then we decided, we want to go down a path with this guy. So Legacy Angel Network here locally is leading the round for Chance's new company and his new game. And so, and we're honored to do it, man.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
You guys are a dream come true. Every single investor that's jumped in on this round is so freaking excited.
Awesome.
And I don't know if I told you, I think I told you this. So Waterfall Ventures, Charlie Lewis, he and Waterfall Ventures, like 120 angels out in the Orlando area, they're actually going to come in on our paper, and they're going to invest in your company as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I mean, everybody's stoked about what you got going on, man. But it's been a real privilege. I'm not going to cry. I told myself I wouldn't cry. But it's been a real privilege, man, just getting to know you, because you are one of the most down-to-earth, fun, ethical, just kind dudes I've ever met in my life.
Those are good things to hear. So thank you. I appreciate it a lot. And we both had the same science teacher.
Oh, yeah. That was funny. So he went to Hoover. I went to Hoover, not by choice like you, but I went to Hoover. And I had this science teacher, Jeb Carpenter.
Yes,
who was also my neighbor in Melbourne Beach. It turns out, same teacher as well.
same teacher. Also my youth pastor back in the day. You know, it's great combo: science, youth pastor.
Right,
makes a good person.
Yeah, he's one of the most interesting men I have ever met in my life. He's taller than Chance and I.
Yeah.
And you could be yelling at him hardcore. And the kids at Hoover, and I don't know when I went, they were all a bunch of hoodlums.
Really? Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Those Melbourne Beach kids.
I know. No, hold on. It's true. I had a bunch of hoodlums that I was in that school, and they would give him so much crap.
Yeah.
And he would just look at him and be like,
just smile. Yeah.
Look at the balloon. And he just look at this balloon. I mean, he would just, it was magic.
No, but like you're building something really cool, Chance. It's even better, man, that you're just a good guy, and it's cool to have you back on the pod. So we appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Fun doing this.
Speaking of good guy too, you've been in you have some passion projects, some things that you do that you're a part of. And some of it you've kind of integrated into the game. You have a current passion project you're raising money for right now for some kids over in Brazil.
And in Rio, yeah.
Yeah, could you talk about that?
Yeah, so, I went to Jiu-Jitsu Worlds. Ricardo Laborio, who's our Jiu-Jitsu MMA advisor, he was a co-founder of Brazilian top team and American top team, like two of the biggest MMA teams ever. This guy, he lives over in Orlando. He teaches Jiu-Jitsu at UCF, and his dream is to get Jiu-Jitsu into colleges in the same way we've got wrestling there. Amazing human being. You got to meet him. He calls me. He's at Worlds in Vegas, and I have some friends that are out there. He's like, Chance, you got to come. There's so many people I can intro you to, you know? And so I get a ticket like 24 hours before I fly out there, and I go out there, and I just hang out with this guy for, 2 hours just walking with him, and it's just like, here, meet Jacare, here, meet Hodger Gracie, meet Daniel Gracie, meet the head of Origin, the head of Shoyoroll, right? And so I connected with Bear, who is the CEO, owner of Shoyoroll, and he's from Pasadena, and I got started in Pasadena, Los Angeles area, and he was, good friends with a lot of my jiu-jitsu friends. We just never met. And so he had like an art installation for these jiu-jitsu gis that he was doing. They're very artsy, Shoyoroll, they're all about the culture and everything, which is a great fit. And I was like, hey, we connected over some friends that we both had, and I told him what I was doing about the game, and he was like, hey, can we be involved? And so I called Bear, days ago or something. I said, hey, I'm going to Rio before I go to Sao Paulo for the Brazil game show. I'm going to go to probably 3 jiu-jitsu social projects, which are basically you go up in the favela and these kids are learning jiu-jitsu there. And I want to give out gis. You guys want to make a donation? Because we're already talking about having Shoyoroll in the game. It's not a done deal, but they're a very well-respected brand.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm going to send you a care package. So Shoyoroll is sending a care package. And I was like, I don't know exactly how many gis are in the care package. I don't demand a certain amount. So I'm like, I think I need to start a fundraiser to get more money so that I can buy enough. Because I'd like to bring 10 gis per gym. If you show up with 2, it's like, hey, let me get some photos for our artists and, drain you of all your knowledge and then leave you with 2 gis. Not enough, right?
Right.
So I was like, if I can get up to 10 gis per gym, that's changes that gym.
Yeah.
And so literally 30 minutes before I started driving here from Orlando, I want to GoFundMe. I started a GoFundMe. I got here at 4 o'clock and set up my laptop over there next to the bar, and I just started. I made a video outside with that cool building, I said, hey, I'm doing this thing, and posted on socials, and now let's see what we're up to. This is literally 2 hours ago that I posted this.
Real time, everyone. This is happening.
The goal
right
is 2,500, right?
Is that so? 2,500 is all that you need to get 10 gis per.
I mean, sorry, 2,000. Yeah, it's a ballpark estimate. Because I'm gonna get a discounted rate because I'm buying it for kids in favelas. But we're at $833 in 2 hours, so we're halfway through the goal.
Cool.
And so
where could the people in this room find that? Is it just on
if you go to the Martial Arts Tycoon Twitter, TikTok, Instagram right now, you'll see my most recent post with a link. You can do that. If you donate $50, we're going to put your name in the game as an NPC, as a non-player character.
Oh, that's cool.
So that when some random
that's cool.
So when some random tourist shows up to your gym, we have this XLS sheet of just names. And we're going to randomly select one, and there's going to be an XLS sheet of all these people that have donated and run other
What
contests.
will you do for $50,000? I don't have $50,000. I'm just asking, what would you do for $50,000?
Isn't that 5,000 names? You could have a Thai name. You have friends from Thailand, their last names are 35,000 characters.
I want to tell you.
I lived in Thailand for 5 months.
My last name is almost that bad.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that.
I lived in Bangkok
terrible.
for 5 months and Phuket for about a month. So I feel like I can say that.
Yeah. No, you can't.
Shoyoroll's a great brand, but they don't carry a 4X, so I'm kind of out. You know what I mean?
You got to work on that, man.
Did you say 4?
Maybe you shouldn't be
Yeah.
6 foot
Hold on.
18.
Yeah, it's a problem.
What size is that T-shirt?
It's a problem. No, this is a 2, but jiu-jitsu runs small. It's a different
Yeah.
thing,
So I'm an
really
A3, but I'm an A3 slim.
Yeah, that's a big 2.
You're probably an A4.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a solid A4.
Yeah.
You know what? Screw you, man.
No, you're
Solid
I'm telling
A4.
you've been in the gym. You've been in the
I
gym
have been in the
recently.
gym.
I'm trained, dude. It's
All right,
good
I'm not
times.
being mean.
It'll keep you from getting
You
old.
call me fat?
No, I'm not.
No, big bones.
Hey, talk about you have some public safety kind of implications with your game.
So back to the Atlantic Council stuff.
Yeah.
That we mentioned, the way I got banned from Russia. So I'm working with their climate resilience group, right? And it's called Adrian Arsh Rockefeller Foundation Resilience Center, a very long name. And they're focused on climate resilience, which is different from mitigation. Mitigation is we're going to try to stop this. Climate resilience is we're already screwed. How do we keep people safe, right? And so their big focus is heat. We've got hurricanes, and when a hurricane comes, you're like, oh, it's Category 4. Its name is Gustavo. Everyone treats Gustavo like it's a bad villain from a movie, and they're like, oh, remember Gustavo?
Right.
Heat waves don't get the same respect. If you ask someone, hey, I heard there's a heat wave out there. What do you know? Oh, it's dang old hot, I reckon. What are you gonna get? And no one really respects that. They don't not go outside because there's a heat wave.
Right.
So what Arshrock did, that's the short name of the very long name, is they said, hey, let's create a categorization and naming system for heat waves so that when there's a major heat wave, we can actually have something that people listen to. So they're piloting this in places like Seville and Athens, I think maybe Buenos Aires, Los Angeles. They're using this system as a pilot system with the public where when there's a heat wave, they're saying this is the category and this is its name. And so far, people respond to that a lot better. They treat the heat waves like they actually matter. And the planet's getting hotter. We have that on record. And so it's probably only going to get worse.
Right.
And so the idea is to get people to respect heat waves in the same way they respect, a hurricane or a tornado. And so what we've done in our game is a lot of these fighters are training out in the heat. They're in the favelas or on the rooftops. And even the further gems, they might have like a beach area or something outside, is that we use the randomly generated temperatures based off the median temperatures of Rio de Janeiro and put some, variance, some white noise, whatever you want to call it on that. And there's a small chance of a heat wave. And now when the heat wave shows up, it tells you the category, the name, and based on the intensity, you have to protect your fighters with whether it's shade in the top of the roof, maybe it's hydration, maybe it's installing fans, if your interior getting a better HVAC system, whatever it might be. So players have to respond to protect their fighters, and if they don't, fighters or trainees have the ability to receive injuries in this case, right? Which normally is going to be like, oh, I hurt my knee or my shoulder, but in this case, it's heat exhaustion or heat stroke. Heat exhaustion is like, okay, I can't train for a week. So that person is out for a week. They're not gaining stats.
Right.
Heat exhaustion it actually reduces their agility as a fighter permanently unless we have some system to give them physical therapy or something, right?
Yeah.
And so the idea is all this stuff works into the game in a natural way, but we just happen to be educating people around the world on what to do during a major heat wave.
That's cool.
And so my philosophy is after Call of Duty, everything I work on, I want to have some sort of, public or social benefit to people outside of being fun. And I think there's, being fun can be enough because entire communities are built over games and relationships with parents or kids are developed playing multiplayer games. I'm not saying you have to have that other thing, but if you can, why not?
Right.
Why not have some more information that can empower people to be safer in drastic situations?
Yeah.
And this year we've broken, almost every heat record that's ever existed. And people can argue all day about why, but the bottom line is this is happening.
Right.
And you got to keep people safe from what is happening, and no one can deny exactly what is happening right now. So.
Well, something I love about this game that you're doing is that it's got a very human central kind of theme to it, where you're trying to help people, and I think this is important, especially as I was a youth pastor for 12 years or whatever, and if you can get, granted, there's going to be a lot of 45-year-old men playing this game, so don't get me wrong.
I'm 2 years away. So.
But
Not just men, though, Matt. Come on.
And women.
All right, thank you.
All right.
I will say that 50% of gamers are actually female. It's heavily skewed towards mobile. But most people think very few girls play games. No, 50% of gamers are women when you include mobile games.
Respect.
The man's got stats. I like
Got
it.
stats.
I like
Yeah.
That's what a CEO does. He gets stats.
Yeah.
No, don't.
Yeah. But it gets these people's minds around taking care of another human.
Yeah.
I love that. As someone who cares about humans, if we as a society, I'm not trying to drag everything down to something super serious here, but if we could start thinking about our neighbor, thinking about the people that are next to us and what's good for them and what's healthy and what's right and what's good, all that's strong, that's powerful. And in these games, granted, they're in front of a game,
Yeah.
but they have to think about this human, and they have to think about the people around them, and they have to. And I even like the human element of the way you guys created this game, like the area. Like you lived there.
Yeah, I lived in the trailer. If you guys just saw, I hope you liked it. I lived at the bottom of that favela. So it was like you go to the bottom, you go over 2 blocks. That's where I was.
That's cool.
So I have a couple people I'd consider my best friends in Rio, and one of them lives up in the favela and worked down at the bar.
That's cool, man.
And he speaks 0 English. And it's funny, it's like I didn't realize the kind of Portuguese I was learning. It'd be like if you were from Brazil and you moved to like South Central, LA, and you picked up that dialect as a Brazilian, learning your English in South Central. So a lot of my Portuguese is like borderline like favela.
One of my lowest one of my lowest moments. I was in Peru at an English speaking school in Peru, and they wanted to do these little groups where they'd get English speakers in the groups with students learning how to speak English. And one of the students looked at me and said, "Your English is terrible."
Wow.
In English?
Yeah.
Great.
Hardcore.
That's awesome.
I'm glad I did this.
Humbled. Glad I traveled all this distance.
It was pretty,
so
that was a low moment for me.
Live right there next to the favela, which is why it's part of it's like I want the vibe, the feeling, the culture of the game to really reflect that too, and that's why we're talking to bring on Arthur, because I live there, but I'm not Brazilian,
Right.
I wasn't born in Brazil.
You look Brazilian.
Some people say that. I dress the part when I get there because I don't want to, I want to blend in when I'm there.
What do you mean you dress the part? Like, what do you?
This
what
is
do you
not.
wear?
You would not wear a flannel in the.
Well, no. No, I mean,
First off, it's hot.
just like shorts and a shirt, or is
Yeah,
there, like,
you wear. Okay, so they wear a lot of like
Is there a
board shorts.
uniform?
Okay, board shorts, Havaianas. You know Havaianas?
Okay. No.
The flip flops. Brazilian.
Okay, yeah.
You wear the board shorts, Havaianas, and then maybe like a Sama jersey or like a jiu-jitsu shirt or just
the
something
Sama.
that like
Okay.
seems like something you could buy there.
Okay.
And honestly, Brazil is so diverse that most Americans could get away with looking kind of Brazilian if they'd shut their mouth.
Did you adopt? I mean, granted, I've only seen.
Where you
Hold
go?
on.
This map.
Be honest. When you went to the beach, did you wear Speedos?
No, I did not. That was like where I stopped being Brazilian.
That's it right there.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of Speedos with
A
Brazilians.
lot of
Yeah.
Speedos. They're very secure.
Everybody
They're-
needs a hard line, Like
Yeah.
everybody needs a stop.
Yeah, so I was. I stuck with the regular, what we'd wear here at the beach.
No, it's cool. I mean, if you did, I'm not gonna
I'll get
shame
there
you.
one day,
I
you
think
know.
it's great. I think
one
it's,
day. I'm sure it's freeing.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't wear whitey tighties anymore, and those are under my clothes. So
There it is.
Yeah.
there we go. That's funny.
Hey, tell us before we go to questions, where can we wish list the game? What are next steps for you guys and getting this out to the public?
all right. So
publishing?
if you're a PC gamer and you're on Steam, go to Steam, look up Martial Arts Tycoon or Martial Arts Tycoon Brazil. Both will give you the same result. And hit Wishlist. Wishlist is a big indicator when it comes to investors, publishers, of what you're going to sell. There's a very general large conversion rate from that number, in addition to other things. If you're not a PC person right now, we do plan on coming on consoles after. So go to our website, sign up for the newsletter, follow our socials so you can keep updated. And then once we have a date on console version, then we can start pushing that information, and PlayStation, Xbox people can start getting on that.
So I want to do a little plug here too. Legacy Angel Network, we formed in 2017, and our goal was finding the right people to go down a path with, who have a right product, right process, and right potential. So that was goal from day one. And meeting Chance and seeing what they've done, they kind of just checked all the boxes. And honestly, we typically do, as a network, we typically do a 20% carry when we find a unicorn company, and that's kind of typical, angel stuff. We even discounted our carry on the end of this investment
because there's not a lot that I have to do for this particular company. So I just want you guys to know, like, if you have any interest in investing in this, you can come see me. You can come talk to Chance. It's an amazing company. We're super excited about it. Other angel groups that we're engaged with are super excited about it. And I think you guys are just going to absolutely slay it. And I think this will be the first of many.
Yeah, we're building a lot of momentum right now.
Yep.
When it comes to investment, sometimes it feels like nothing to everything. It's like nothing's coming in, then one person comes in, then you're like, then four others went in. It's something that's building, and I feel we're pretty much at that tipping point where everything's kind of changing from like, you don't have a lot of investment to like, you got this investor, I better get in soon.
So the first release, the release of the actual game, is the target still sometime around January, February?
We said the official date is 2024. Typically in games, you don't announce a date until you're like, certain that it's going to be there. And so it's going to be 2024. Probably not February, but it's going to definitely be next year. So
very, very cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. So Chance, man, thanks so much
thanks for having me, guys.
for coming out. So we'd like to open this up for questions.
Questions are
fun. Do you want to
use this mic and they can just bring it back?
I'll run the mic. Anybody?
Run the mic. Isn't that No, run the jewels. Sorry.
Anybody?
Maybe you don't
Questions
have
on
questions.
investment, game development, any of
Yeah.
that stuff? What
There you
you
go.
got, man?
My question is very simple. What types of games do you guys like playing, and what are you playing right now?
So I don't want to say how many hours I am to Baldur's Gate 3, because then you're like, how can this guy run a company and have 100 hours in Baldur's Gate 3? But I'm playing a lot of Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate is a Dungeons and Dragons game, and I don't know if you were like me as a kid, where your parents thought it was the devil's work and you couldn't play it. Ends up it's not. It's basically Tolkien, So yeah, it's a very story-driven role-playing game that has been in development for a very long time, and it's mind-blowing. Like, I got my wife into it, and she's like, I'm on to casual games, like Stardew Valley. And I'm like, you should try this. And now she's like telling all her friends about it. She wants to play it like all night with me. And so Baldur's Gate 3 is just, it's got me sucked in. I'm in Act 3 right now. Outside of that, I'm playing management sim games. I still play Modern Warfare on a semi-regular basis with, I got a buddy that I've been friends with. We were third and fourth grade classmates over in Port St. John. And we've stayed connected through video games. So we hop onto DMZ for Call of Duty, get some sessions in. Those have been the two big games right now. But I'm always trying random indie games, because indie games can afford to innovate because they don't have as much on the line. And they're not like, we invested $100 million, you can't try anything new, which is AAA gaming. Indie's like, you know what, we got $100,000 to make this. How do I do something new and interesting? And so you get a lot of great innovation ideas from indie games, smaller budget games, than you do from these large budget games who can't take big risks.
Connor, do you play any games?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, been in like the fighting game thing for a while. So if it's like Smash Bros, which is basically a children's fighting game, but we all overlook that. You know what I mean? It's grown.
Yeah.
That and Street Fighter and that kind of stuff is a killer, man. The new Strike Fighters. Good.
What are you going to play, Matt? Come on.
Was it
Royal Match?
Royal Match?
Is that Bejeweled?
Man, I don't. Look, here's what I do. I
much
go
did you
out
spend on
and find funding for cool games like yours. How about that?
Sounds good, thank you.
Judging me.
Wait, Matt. We gotta tell. Can we tell publicly how much you've spent on Candy Crush? Is that a thing we can talk about?
My wife's here. Asshole.
She did.
Yeah.
It's a funny number.
I don't play Candy Crush anymore for a reason.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
All
All right. Yeah.
Oh, question, sorry.
Yep. Jerk.
Have you considered when someone gets involved in the game and they're developing their own character while they're learning about how to heal themselves and keep themselves healthy and what other people need to be healthy, but you're inculcating them into the jiu-jitsu mindset and to a warrior mindset. Is there any portion where after they play the game that you have a part of your program where you link them up with local resources of jiu-jitsu people that are there? Because if someone does this and they get really interested in doing the physical aspect of it, you basically give them the culture of jiu-jitsu through the game. They can walk into a studio and already be 40-50% familiar with the atmosphere that they're walking into and what they're going to encounter. So I see, I'm a fellow martial artist locally, and someone's putting an online, basically, training program here for people that's going to get them interested. So is there an extension of the game that plays out into the real world as part of your game?
Great question, man.
That's a phenomenal question.
Yeah, that's a great question. Right, as of now, there's nothing like in the game that says go here to this location. But I think in general, people, they get interested in a topic, and they just hop on Google and they look it up, right? And so that's kind of what I'm expecting. One of my goals for this game is I got into skateboarding again as an adult because of Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I played the Tony Hawk demo, which did one of the best, most successful game demos ever. Bought the game, loved the music, and I was like, I'm gonna go do this. And so fast forward a few years, I was skateboarding at Pedalo Park in Woodland Hills with Neversoft, which is the Tony Hawk creators. And so, because Neversoft is also Activision as well as Infinity Ward, at lunch we would have like a lunch skate session, once a week where we just, skate. And I want this to be that for jiu-jitsu or martial arts or just physical activity in general would be nice, because I know that most people these days have heard of it or know what jiu-jitsu is. Whether they heard it on like Joe Rogan or something, or from this person, or watching UFC. It's like one of those extra things that kind of motivate them to get into it. There's a good chance we could potentially have actual gyms, real IPs, from gyms that exist in the game. I don't know if that's going to happen, but if we do, then that's going to, kind of point them to those gyms as well. We're looking at product placement. Like I said, I've been talking to Shoyoroll. I'd love to have their gis in the company. Talking with Gameness, which is part of Century, and it seems like there's great opportunities here for product placement because it doesn't stick out. It's just like what you expect. Product placement that is out of place is not good product placement. But when you're already making a whole bunch of equipment for martial arts, it's actually easier to do a real brand than a satirical brand, And right now we have a mix. Right now it's all satirical brands, but I'd like to replace those brands with actual products. So a little cool little marketing exchange there. I think coming into the new IP, it's going to be a lot of marketing exchanges, because they have huge bases. They might have sponsored fighters with 100, 200,000 fighters. We have expected sales in the hundreds of thousands as well, if not more. And so it allows us to hey, you have your fighters promote this game. We'll maybe put their head, their face in the game, and we'll promote your brand by putting your equipment in the game. And so that's the kind of product placement I'm looking for. Once we sell a first game, and we say, hey, we sold this many copies, then I can say, hey, give me money. But right now, I think the fair thing is to just, hey, I'll market your product, you market mine.
Yep.
You have a large following, we should have a large following.
Yep.
Let's do that exchange.
Yeah.
So a little bit of tangent there, but...
Well, I mean, what's nice about that, too, could I just say, someone with your pedigree and your team's pedigree could probably come along and be like, excuse me, I'm the co-founder of blah, 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 and you're not that way. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just thank you that you see that kind of collaboration is so necessary.
Yeah, this is
this
is a long-term franchise. We're talking about, Martial Arts Tycoon Brazil, but what about Martial Arts Tycoon Thailand and Muay Thai, Japan, Judo and Karate, right?
Right.
You can go down the list of various very popular gaming countries with very popular martial arts.
If you do one with thumb wrestling, I'm all over it.
That's gonna be DLC number 74. I don't know.
But you're just talking through the merit of what you guys are creating, man. It's like that art imitates life, life imitates art kind of thing.
Exactly,
The best
so
art inspires those kind of changes. Like you listen to Tony Hawk talk about what made skating mainstream, and it was Pro Skater. It was the PS1. That's what got everyone interested because
Yeah.
it's an accessible form of the actual art form. You know.
Yeah. By the way, before we leave, where's my backpack? I've got a guest.
there.
Can you?
Can I get it for you?
Yeah. Reach inside. There's going to be something in there for you. You'll know what it is. Just take it out and just hand them over. All right.
This is the best part of the night already, Chip.
Hold on.
All right, this was not scripted. I don't.
Yeah, you gotta. So this is Rafael, and Rafael is our mascot. If you
This
saw the
is
trailer
happening.
out there,
Oh,
I think
this-
you saw Rafael. So Rafael is the capybara that Tio Renato leaves behind to help you run the gym. And normally he has a walkie-talkie on because capybaras can't actually talk. So to make this game realistic, we had to add a walkie-talkie. So it's very well grounded.
So I'm so glad that we do a video podcast.
Yeah, this would be and so we decided, I went to Big, which is the second largest Brazilian game show, and had this as like our little celebrity mascot, and now I'm going to jiu-jitsu tournaments and doing interviews with this guy, interviewing fighters, getting their deep in thoughts on fighting.
What
yeah.
are you prepared to pay in ransom if it's stolen?
I don't want to put that number publicly because it's like saying, hey, get a $3,000 for stealing a capybara. It'd be really hard to steal a real capybara.
Okay.
They're like 150
Have you
pounds.
thought about like a capybara man direction, like Batman? But
I mean, I have you'll notice in our latest investor update, in our latest investor update, there is a hidden slide, just grayed out,
Yep.
and it's basically comparing other games' capybaras to ours,
It's,
and just letting them know we set the capybara. Yeah, and you can hide or unhide that slide depending on who the investors are. Like this guy's
right,
chill.
right.
This guy right here,
Yeah.
he's pretty chill. I think he'd appreciate that slide. Yeah, he's been to. And I believe that. But yeah, this is Rafael. And so if you go onto our socials,
Oh, it
you'll
hurts.
see there's some interviews, and he speaks Portuguese and English.
oh, that's good.
He's got a little bit of American accent when he does
I
Portuguese.
barely speak
Yeah.
English. This is great.
And yeah, so porra, caralho. Don't translate that.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of questions now. Ladies first, and then we're going to go to Arthur.
All right.
for chance or no.
For a chance. Yeah, if you really want to get into it.
Yeah.
I hope you do.
So I've heard you mention wrestling a couple times. I don't know if you have any history with wrestling or knowledge of it. For me personally, as an actual wrestler, not WWE or WWF, real wrestling,
Yeah.
I would love to see a game that actually incorporates wrestling, not just MMA or
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu or anything like that. Do you think that there's going to be any potential for that happening, and would that be something that you were interested in doing?
Yep. So I'm from Oklahoma, and we like to wrestle. So we're definitely have wrestling. We might have some wrestling. No, so like I mentioned before, there's a lot of potential for different sequels. And if I was to pick the four most important martial arts in MMA, it would be jiu-jitsu and wrestling for grappling, and then Muay Thai and probably boxing, right? And so if you look kind of the natural progression of things, as long as people keep buying the game, we would definitely get to a point where we have a heavy influence on wrestling. Now, there's going to be, double legs, single legs. Jiu-jitsu takes from wrestling. Yeah, but I'm saying, but what jiu-jitsu takes from is going to be some wrestling and some judo for our takedowns. So I expect if we have, more sequels, that wrestling would definitely play a big part, because my end dream is to, release an MMA title, and then basically the games and martial arts you've purchased, you can use for your fighter. So you'll have some basic MMA skills, but it's like, I wish he knew good jiu-jitsu, so I'm going to buy the jiu-jitsu, martial arts tycoon Brazil, and now I have access to jiu-jitsu for my MMA fighter. That's a very long-term, goal. But yeah, wrestling is definitely, top 3 next martial arts if we were to ever keep producing, more content and sequels.
Yeah, it's good. Arthur?
Yeah.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, you got to put on
yes.
the mic, man. We
Yeah,
can hear
man.
your voice. Give us your baritone version.
Your grandchildren will hear you asking this question.
No, is the capybara a playable character? Like, no cap, actually.
Yeah,
Was the pun intended? No cap.
no cap.
Good work, Arthur.
We're finding new ways to. The capybara is very popular. And I've been into capybaras before they were cool, just to put that out there. It's not because that stupid song.
Before they were
Capybara,
cool.
capybara. Okay. And we want to have him part of, he's like your Clippy from Microsoft Windows 3.1. Do you remember, Microsoft Word. You remember Clippy?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, hey, you suck at writing, blah, 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 whatever you'd say, right? He's like our Clippy that's like, if you're running out of funds, he pops up and says, hey, maybe you should do this to make more money, or, we'll have them in different themes. You got business capybara, maybe you got jiu-jitsu capybara. But I'd like to have him more integrated into the game because I know that that's what people are going to want. And I think he's kind of like the balance to a lot of people are going to assume, MMA, UFC. At first, they might picture something different in their head, and then they see a trailer and there's a talking capybara. And they're like, okay, this is not as like alpha and bro-ish as I thought it was. I can play this.
Very nice.
Killer.
Any other questions? Were you about to say something?
David's got one here, man. Thanks, Saul.
The Brenner.
How are you thinking about in-game purchases and kind of your whole viewpoint on kind of getting users to buy the game, and then what's the right balance between accelerating your development and monetizing the user?
Yeah.
That's a great question. That's an investor kind of question, you know what I mean?
It is very investor-y. Yeah, so DLC is a big thing, in me growing up, it's like you pay a flat price, you got the game, and that's it, nothing else. The next thing is going to be a full-on sequel. Now with DLC, downloadable content, it could be anything from like a $20 full extension of the game, or it could be a gi, right? And so the approach that I'm taking, we're kind of revisiting kind of our sequel versus DLC strategy right now. And if we were to go to the route where we, instead of having DLC for the game, we have full-on sequels, we still have an opportunity to have downloadable content. And but not the way they do it on mobile or freemium. So free-to-play games, they design games that are free, and then the designer's job as a game designer is to extract money out of you. At our company, the designer's job is to,
Assholes.
Matt's a victim.
Yeah. At our company, the job is for the designers to give you fun because you've already paid for the game. And the way that these games extract money from you is basically pay to win. And we're not doing that at all. That's for gamers, they see through that, they feel it, they're like, I don't want to have to spend $1,000 to do well, right? And so what we do is we're doing a premium game, that would be launched at, say, the $20 to $25 price point. And if we go the full sequel route, there's still opportunities for cosmetic DLC. So as I'm building relationships with whether it's Shoyoroll or Gameness or any other, jiu-jitsu accessory company, they want their stuff in the game because games are the primary medium on the planet, the primary entertainment medium. More people play games than movies, TV, everything combined. And there's an engagement aspect. They're using their brain, right? And so the idea is that we could offer cosmetic DLC, whether it's gis or like knee braces or just rash guards, shirts, that they'll want to buy, but it's not going to say, I bought this shirt, now I just win the game, So hope that answers your question.
Any more questions?
Can I have questions? Or
Yeah.
we can cut. So wrestling
Yes.
and
And I live in Titusville.
Titusville.
I survived.
Yeah, I went to Jackson for 6 months.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I was an astronaut.
Tosh,
And I
2.
wrestled for Titusville.
Did Daniel what?
Yeah.
Daniel Tosh went there, and
Yes, he went to astronaut.
yeah, and then you're in martial arts. You're
A little bit of everything, some Kempo karate, but now we're doing martial arts with firearms, airsoft, scenario based. So
that's awesome.
Cool, man.
You look like a wrestler though, without the ears. Does he look like a wrestler? Yeah. Like you look like a guy with a good double leg, you know? It's something about the beard. I don't know. Anyone else training any martial arts here? No? Just, yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Amazing.
We went to mocap you for our double legs. Yeah.
I did 3 months of Taekwondo when I was in 4th grade.
Let's go.
So,
Yeah, I'm sure you're very flashy.
it was impressive.
North or south?
Those
Korean?
guys would just punch you, like straight up full-grown men
the
would
chest.
punch me in the chest and stomach.
Yeah.
And that's not okay.
Yeah, that's not okay. It takes something, yeah.
That guy's a smartass. Let's punch him.
Yeah.
It's all a part of the class, kid.
I'm actually a black belt in the very dancey Brazilian art of capybara.
Nice.
Capoeira.
Capoeira.
Yeah.
So,
All right, let's wrap up.
So here's one of the ways that I want to wrap up. I ask this question a lot, but before I ask this question, it's my ending question. It's a proper question. But before I ask that question, I want to just let everyone know. So what our network has done is we've created a data room that really goes into the nuts and bolts of this company, the investment, kind of what they're doing. If you have any interest in that, just hit me up. Let me know. I'm happy to give you access to the data room. But yeah, it's just an amazing company and an amazing founder. And so I have my 2 final questions. There are actually 2 final questions. You ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right. So first thing, the internal compass. What makes Chance tick? Like what is your moral compass, your internal compass? Like kind of what makes you be who you are? You know, what's your code, if you will? And then what advice would you offer to other entrepreneurs, people that are just thinking about going for it or in the middle of going for it, that just, you know, what advice would you offer them to kind of just give them a little bit of encouragement?
So for the entrepreneurs, I'd say that like you're gonna have your doubts, but just step into it. You know, when you hit those walls or issues, you'll figure it out. You know, don't let this fear of like doing something new and doing things that you haven't, necessarily aspects that don't have a lot of experience in keep you from doing new things. Because you might be the right person for 90% of the stuff. The other 10% is stuff you're worried about, and you're gonna figure that out along the way. So just get into it. Moral compass, like, I don't know, I guess in general when I work, there's a certain amount of point where you make a certain amount of money in life and you're paying your bills and you can do your basics. You're not gonna get much happier beyond that. You know, if you're making $150K a year and then you make $1.5 million a year, the difference in your level of happiness is gonna be, if it's different, you might be less happy at 1.5 million, I don't know. So for me, it's more of just like the projects that I work on. I already worked on the biggest game franchise on the planet. It's more of just like, what's something that I'm passionate about? What's something that can contribute to people, society, humans, make some kind of positive change? And as long as I can find the things that I can get excited about, something I can creatively get excited about, but also gonna have some kind of ulterior positive impact on society, marry those two things together. That's the kind of stuff that I want to work on.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm, last minute throwing together a fundraiser to get some geese for some kids in Rio and favelas. And I'm hoping with the success of this company, we can do more of that, do more of, because honestly, the fundraiser we're doing now, it's, $2,000. Like, that's not a lot of money in games.
No.
There's people that will drop $2,000 on a mobile game. Hopefully that wasn't you.
My wife is here.
No, but the thing you're making, Chance, like it's gonna have that.
Yeah.
I think you can just see it's gonna have that impact on people. Like the art form that you're promoting is like a community, like getting involved with the gym. It's a community. It's like the confidence to defend yourself and to like be good at something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like
gaming creates so many communities.
Yeah.
And so if you already have an established community that believe in something, if you can find a way to leverage what you're working on to get those people excited to help out other people, that's great. And most people can, I'll tweet something that's freaking hilarious and no one retweets it. I think it's hilarious. And I tweet something that's a fundraiser, for a good cause, and within, hour and a half, like $900 people have donated, I literally arrived at this restaurant, Rising Tide. You should come here in Cape Canaveral, and set this up while I was waiting for you guys to show up. Sent it to like my 4 social channels, and we had $887.
I feel like there was some judgment in that, waiting for you guys to show up. That felt a little diggy.
Yeah, no, I'm just messing with you guys.
I don't think you were. I think we can talk about it later. We can hug it out.
That's right.
No, but I mean, just to describe Chance, like our buddy Jim Donnelly on the podcast, he said something I love, which is like, can't you just tell when somebody's gonna win, like when they're a winner? And that's you, man.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you, dude.
Wish I heard that growing up.
Chance Glasco, everybody. One more round of applause for our boy Chance.
Yeah, bye.
Good night, everybody.